Before we dive in, drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from. Don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10 at the end. Now, let's begin. The rain hammers against the hospital window like bullets against glass, each drop a sharp reminder that time is running out. Elena's fingers shake as she signs the discharge papers, her vision blurring not from tears, but from exhaustion, so complete it feels like drowning. 48 hours. That's how long she's been awake, cycling between her mother's ICU room and the billing office, watching numbers climb on screens she can't afford to look at, but can't afford to ignore. Miss Moretti, you understand that without the surgery within the next 72 hours. The doctor's voice is clinical, professional, but Elena sees the pity in his eyes. She's 26 years old, standing in Chicago Mercy Hospital at 2 in the morning, wearing scrubs from her shift at the diner that ended 6 hours ago. And she understands perfectly. Without $200,000, her mother dies. I understand, she says, and her voice doesn't shake the way her hands do. That's something, at least. Some small proof that she hasn't completely shattered yet. The hospital corridor stretches endlessly before her, fluorescent lights buzzing like insects, the smell of antiseptic so strong it burns her throat. She's walked these halls so many times in the past month that she's memorized every scuff mark on the linoleum, every crack in the beige walls. Her mother's room is in the cardiac wing, 3rd floor, room 317. Elena could find it blindfolded now. Her mother is sleeping when Elena enters, the ventilator's rhythmic hiss filling the silence. Margot Moretti looks smaller somehow, as if the illness is consuming her from the inside out, leaving only a fragile shell. Elena takes her hand, careful of the IV lines, and feels the paper-thin skin, the prominent bones. This woman raised her alone after her father died, worked 3 jobs to put Elena through community college, never once complained about the sacrifices. Now it's Elena's turn to sacrifice, but she has nothing left to give. She's already sold everything of value, borrowed from everyone who might lend, picked up every available shift at both her jobs. The GoFundMe raised $8,000. Her mother's insurance covered half before hitting its lifetime maximum. Elena has been doing math in her head for weeks, subtracting, dividing, trying to make impossible numbers add up to possible outcomes. They don't. She sits beside the bed until dawn breaks gray and cold over the Chicago skyline, until nurses begin their morning rounds, until visiting hours officially end, and a kind-faced woman named Patricia gently suggests Elena go home and rest. I'll be back tonight, Elena promises her unconscious mother, pressing a kiss to her forehead. The skin is fever-warm, concerning. Everything is concerning now. The November wind cuts through her thin jacket as she exits the hospital into the weak morning light. She should go home to her studio apartment in Pilsen, should sleep for a few hours before her shift at the diner starts at 11. Instead, her feet carry her east, toward the lake. Toward the part of the city where buildings scrape the sky and money flows like water. She's not sure what draws her there. Desperation, maybe. Or some half-formed fantasy that, if she stands close enough to wealth, some of it might transfer to her through osmosis. She knows it's foolish, knows the world doesn't work that way, but exhaustion has made her irrational. The streets transform as she walks. Gone are the boarded windows and cracked sidewalks of her neighborhood, replaced by gleaming storefronts and pristine concrete. People here move differently, with the confidence of those who've never worried about money, never calculated whether they can afford both electricity and groceries this month. Elena finds herself on Michigan Avenue, standing before a hotel so expensive she's only ever seen it in movies. The Aurelia. 20 stories of glass and steel and elegance that seems to exist in a different universe from the one she inhabits. A doorman in a uniform, that probably cost more than her monthly rent, opens the door for guests arriving in town, cars and taxis, never glancing at the exhausted girl in second-hand clothes watching from across the street. She should leave, should turn around and walk back to reality. But something holds her there, rooted to the sidewalk as dawn fully breaks and the city wakes around her. That's when she sees him. He exits the hotel flanked by two men in dark suits, their eyes scanning the street with the practiced vigilance of bodyguards. But Elena barely notices them. Her attention is captured entirely by the man between them, tall and broad-shouldered, moving with a predator's grace despite the early hour. He wears a charcoal suit that fits him like it was born there, his dark hair perfectly styled, his jaw shadowed with the kind of stubble that looks deliberate rather than neglectful. Even from across the street, even through her exhaustion-blurred vision, Elena can see the power radiating from him. It's in his posture, in the way people unconsciously step aside as he approaches his waiting car, a black Mercedes with windows so tinted they look like mirrors. He pauses before entering the vehicle, his head turning as if sensing her gaze. For one impossible moment, his eyes lock onto hers across the distance. Dark eyes, almost black, intelligent and cold and utterly focused. Elena's breath catches in her throat. She feels pinned in place, a butterfly under glass, examined and catalogued in a single heartbeat. Then his phone rings. The spell breaks. He answers, sliding into the Mercedes without a backward glance, and the car pulls smoothly into traffic. Elena releases a breath she didn't know she was holding. Her heart pounds erratically, adrenaline coursing through her system for no reason she can name. He was just a man. A wealthy, powerful, undeniably handsome man. But just a man nonetheless. She turns away from the hotel, finally heading toward home. But she can't shake the feeling of those dark eyes on her skin. What Elena doesn't know, what she can't possibly know as she navigates the early morning streets back to her small apartment, is that across the city, in the back of that Mercedes, the man makes a phone call. "The girl outside the hotel," he says, his voice carrying an accent that wasn't born in America, but has lived here long enough to soften. Find out who she is. The person on the other end must ask a question, because he continues. Late 20s, dark hair, green eyes. She was watching the entrance. She looked. He pauses, searching for the word. Desperate. Another pause as he listens. Yes, I'm sure. Do it now. He ends the call, his expression unreadable as Chicago slides past the tinted windows. In his world, curiosity is a luxury he rarely indulges. But something about the girl's face, about the haunted look in her eyes that he recognized because he'd seen it in his own mirror years ago, has caught his interest. In his world, interest is the first step toward possession. Elena reaches her apartment building as full morning breaks, the sun fighting through the ever-present Chicago clouds. Her studio is on the 4th floor of a walk-up with temperamental heating and neighbors whose arguments bleed through the thin walls. She climbs the stairs slowly, every muscle aching, and lets herself into the tiny space she calls home. It's clean, at least. She's always been meticulous about that, even when she's too exhausted to stand. The Murphy bed is folded up against the wall, creating the illusion of space. Her few belongings are organized with military precision, books arranged by height on the single shelf, clothes hung in color-coordinated order in the closet, dishes stacked neatly beside the miniature sink. Control the small things, her mother used to say, and the big things don't feel so overwhelming. Elena sets her keys in their designated spot and moves mechanically through her routine. Shower, change into clean clothes, force herself to eat half a protein bar, even though her stomach rebels at the thought of food. She should sleep, but her mind won't quiet, cycling endlessly through scenarios and calculations. $200,000. 72 hours. Impossible numbers. Impossible deadline. She's reaching for her phone to set an alarm when it rings. An unknown number flashing across the screen. Probably a bill collector. She has several now, calling at all hours about her mother's mounting medical debt. But something makes her answer anyway. Hello? Miss Elena Moretti? The voice is male, professional, with a hint of an accent she can't place. Yes? My name is Vincent Santos. I'm calling on behalf of my employer, who would like to offer you a business proposition. Elena's first instinct is to hang up. She's heard of scams targeting desperate people, promises of easy money that lead to worse trouble. But something in the man's tone stops her. He sounds legitimate, educated, like someone who works in a glass tower downtown. What kind of proposition? She asks carefully. The kind best discussed in person. My employer requests your presence at lunch today, 1 o'clock at Marcello's on State Street. A car will be sent to collect you at 12:30. Her heart pounds. Marcello's is one of the most exclusive restaurants in Chicago, the kind of place that requires reservations months in advance. I don't understand. Who is your employer? All will be explained when you meet. The car will arrive at your building at 12:30, Miss Moretti. I suggest you be ready. The line goes dead. Elena stares at her phone, her exhausted mind struggling to process what just happened. The man knew her full name, knew where she lived. The implications send ice through her veins. But underneath the fear is something else, a desperate, dangerous hope. She glances at the clock. It's 8 in the morning now. 4.5 hours until the car arrives, if it arrives at all. This could be a prank, or worse. But what if it's not? Elena moves to her closet, examining her limited wardrobe. She owns exactly one outfit suitable for a place like Marcello's, a black sheath dress she wore to her college graduation 5 years ago. It's slightly outdated, the hem a bit shorter than current fashion dictates. But it's clean and professional. She lays it on the bed, then stands there staring at it, her mind racing. The rational part of Elena's brain screams that this is insane. She doesn't know who these people are, doesn't know what they want. Every crime documentary she's ever watched, every warning her mother ever gave her about trusting strangers, flashes through her mind in rapid succession. But desperation makes people do insane things. And Elena is far past desperate. She tries to sleep, but manages only fitful dozing. Her dreams populated by dark eyes and impossible numbers. When her alarm finally sounds at 11:30, she feels worse than before. But she drags herself up anyway. The shower helps marginally, the hot water sluicing away some of the grime and exhaustion, if not the fear. She dries her hair carefully, applies minimal makeup to hide the shadows under her eyes, and slips into the black dress. It fits differently than it did 5 years ago. She's lost weight recently. Stress and skipped meals carving away what little softness she had. The effect makes her look older, more severe. She's not sure if that's good or bad. At 12:25, Elena positions herself by the window overlooking the street, watching. Part of her still believes no car will come, that this whole thing is some elaborate mistake or cruel joke. At 12:30 exactly, a black town car pulls up to the curb. Her breath catches. It's real. This is actually happening. The driver, a middle-aged man in a neat suit, exits and looks up at her building, then pulls out his phone. Seconds later, Elena's phone buzzes with a text from the same unknown number. The car is ready, Miss Moretti. Her hands shake as she grabs her purse, a thrift store find she's carried for 3 years, and heads downstairs. Each step feels surreal, like she's watching herself from outside her body. This isn't her life. Her life is double shifts and medical bills and falling asleep on the train. Not town cars and exclusive restaurants and mysterious employers. The driver opens the rear door as she approaches, his expression neutral, but not unkind. "Miss Moretti?" "Yes," she manages, her voice steadier than she feels. The interior of the car smells like leather and expensive cologne. Nothing like the city buses she usually takes. The seats are butter soft, the ride smooth as they pull into traffic. Elena sits rigidly, her purse clutched in her lap, trying not to touch anything. The driver doesn't speak, and Elena doesn't ask questions, though 1,000 crowd her tongue. Instead, she watches Chicago pass by the tinted windows, the familiar city looking strange and distant from inside this cocoon of luxury. The drive takes only 15 minutes, but it feels like hours. When they finally pull up in front of Marcello's, Elena's heart is pounding so hard she can feel it in her throat. The restaurant occupies the ground floor of a historic building, its facade all old-world elegance, its windows revealing glimpses of white tablecloths and crystal chandeliers. The driver opens her door. "Someone will meet you inside, Miss Moretti." Elena forces her legs to work, to carry her out of the car and toward the restaurant's entrance. A doorman opens it with a practiced smile, and suddenly she's inside, surrounded by wealth so casual it takes her breath away. The maitre d' approaches immediately, his eyes sweeping over her with professional assessment. Before she can speak, he says, "Miss Moretti, this way, please." He leads her through the main dining room, past tables occupied by men in expensive suits and women dripping with jewelry, to a private room at the back. He opens the door, gestures her inside, and closes it behind her with a soft click. The private dining room is smaller than she expected, dominated by a single table set for two. And at that table, rising to his feet as she enters, is the man from this morning. The man from outside the hotel. Up close, he's even more striking. Tall, easily 6'2" or 6'3", with the kind of build that speaks of disciplined gym sessions rather than manual labor. His suit is impeccable, charcoal gray with subtle pinstripes, paired with a black shirt and no tie. His face is all sharp angles, strong jaw, high cheekbones, straight nose that looks like it might have been broken once and reset perfectly. But it's his eyes that capture her, just as they did this morning. Dark, intense, missing nothing. "Miss Moretti," he says, and his voice is exactly as she imagined it would be. Deep, cultured, with that trace of an accent that adds music to her name. "Thank you for coming. I'm Dante Caruso." The name means nothing to her, but the way he says it suggests it should. Elena stays near the door, every instinct screaming at her to run. "Mr. Caruso, your assistant said you had a business proposition." A smile touches his lips, barely there and gone. "Direct. I appreciate that." He gestures to the empty chair across from him. "Please, sit. We should eat while we talk." I'm not hungry. Nevertheless, it's not a request. Elena's jaw tightens, but she moves forward, lowering herself into the chair with as much dignity as she can muster. The table is already set with appetizers she doesn't recognize, wine breathing in a crystal decanter, water in glasses that probably cost more than her rent. Dante retakes his seat with fluid grace, studying her across the table. "You were outside the Aurelia this morning," he says, watching. Heat floods Elena's cheeks. "I was just walking. I didn't mean—" He waves a hand, dismissing her stammering. "I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm merely establishing that I notice things, Miss Moretti. It's how I've survived in my particular line of work." "And what line of work is that?" His smile returns, sharper this time. "Import and export. Shipping, primarily. I move goods from one place to another." The words are innocuous, but something in his tone suggests layers beneath. Elena has lived in Chicago long enough to recognize the coded language of men who operate in the shadows. "Why am I here?" she asks, abandoning pretense. Dante leans back in his chair, apparently pleased by her directness. "Because you need money. A great deal of it, very quickly. And I need someone with your particular qualifications." Elena's blood runs cold. "How do you know I need money?" "I make it my business to know things." He pulls a slim folder from beside his plate and slides it across the table to her. "Your mother, Margot Moretti, age 52, currently in ICU at Chicago Mercy. Congestive heart failure requiring immediate transplant. Cost, approximately $200,000. Insurance coverage exhausted. Your personal savings, $4,327. Your debt, $63,000 and climbing. Your employment, full-time waitress at Marion's Diner, part-time data entry at Franklin Associates. Combined annual income, $31,000, pre-tax." Each word lands like a blow. Elena's hands shake as she opens the folder to find printouts confirming everything he's said. Bank statements, medical bills, credit reports. Her entire life reduced to numbers on paper. "How did you get this?" Her voice emerges as barely a whisper. "Money opens doors, Miss Moretti. Information is easy to acquire when you have the right resources." He pauses. "And the right motivation." She should be furious, should be terrified. She's both. But underneath is that dangerous hope again. Stronger now. "What do you want from me?" Dante reaches for the wine, pouring for both of them despite her earlier refusal of food. "I need someone to pose as my fiancé for approximately 6 months. Someone believable, well-spoken, intelligent. Someone with no connections to my world who can be trusted to play a role and then disappear when it's done." Elena stares at him. "Your fiancé?" "Yes." "Why?" His jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. "That's my business." "Your business is whether you accept my offer. $250,000. $50,000 now, deposited directly to Chicago Mercy to cover your mother's surgery. The remaining $200,000 upon successful completion of the arrangement. $250,000, enough to save her mother, enough to clear the debt, enough to breathe again." "What does pose as your fiancé actually entail?" she asks, proud that her voice doesn't shake. "Attending events with me, dinners, galas, family functions, behaving as a woman in love would behave, living in my home for the duration of the arrangement." He meets her eyes steadily. "The relationship will be purely professional, Miss Moretti. I require your presence and your performance, nothing more. For 6 months, yes. And then I just leave? With $200,000 and your freedom. Yes." Elena's mind races, searching for the trap she knows must be there. Men like Dante Caruso, men with enough money to buy information, and people with equal ease, don't make offers like this without ulterior motives. "Why me?" she asks. "There must be hundreds of women who do this." "Thousands," he agrees, "but they lack your particular advantage." "Which is?" His eyes hold hers, dark and unreadable. "Desperation. You need this money badly enough that you'll do the job properly. Badly enough that you won't get emotionally complicated. Badly enough that when it's over, you'll disappear as agreed, grateful for the money and wanting nothing more from me." The brutal honesty of it steals her breath. He's not trying to charm her or seduce her. He's laying out a business transaction with clinical precision. "How do I know you'll actually pay me?" she asks. "You don't. But consider, I've already spent considerable resources investigating you. I could have approached dozens of other candidates. I chose you specifically. That suggests I'm serious about this arrangement." Elena's fingers curl around the stem of her wine glass. She hasn't touched it yet, but suddenly she needs something to hold on to. I need time to think about this. You have 72 hours before your mother's window for surgery closes. I'm offering you a solution. Time is a luxury you don't have, Miss Moretti. The cruelty of the truth makes her flinch. He's right. She knows he's right. If I agree, she says slowly, I'd need the money transferred to the hospital immediately. Within the hour. I'd need it in writing, a contract. My attorney will have one drawn up today. And when this is over, I walk away. No strings, no threats. No, nothing, Dante interrupts. When our arrangement ends, you cease to exist as far as I'm concerned. You'll have your money and your freedom. I'll have what I need from this charade. Elena sits in silence, the weight of the decision pressing down on her like physical force. She thinks of her mother in that hospital bed, the ventilator breathing for her, time running out with each passing second. She thinks of the bills stacked on her tiny kitchen counter, the collection calls she's stopped answering, the exhaustion that's become her constant companion. And she thinks of this man across from her, this stranger who somehow seems to see straight through her, who's offering her exactly what she needs, at exactly the moment she needs it most. It's too perfect, too convenient, which means it's dangerous. What aren't you telling me? She asks, meeting his gaze directly. There's more to this. There has to be. Dante's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his eyes that might be respect. Perceptive? Yes, there's more. But nothing that affects you directly. He pauses, seeming to weigh his words. My family has expectations. Expectations I've resisted for years. This arrangement satisfies those expectations while maintaining my autonomy. Your family wants you married, among other things, and you don't want to be, not in any permanent sense. He takes a sip of his wine, his movements deliberate and controlled. 6 months gives them what they think they want. Then, when our engagement ends, regrettably, publicly, but amicably, they'll have no grounds to continue their pressure. For a while, at least. Elena absorbs this, trying to read between the lines. Your family must be very influential if you're going to these lengths. His smile is cold. You have no idea. The silence stretches between them, heavy with unspoken implications. Finally, Elena says, I want the contract to specify exact terms. What's expected of me, what's not. Boundaries clearly defined. Agreed. I want half the money, $125,000, deposited after the first 3 months, not all at the end. Dante's eyebrows rise fractionally. You don't trust me? I don't know you. He laughs, a genuine sound that transforms his face for a moment, making him look younger, less dangerous. Smart. Very well. $125,000 at the 3-month mark, the remainder when we conclude the arrangement. Elena takes a deep breath. She's about to step off a cliff into darkness, trusting that this stranger will catch her. Every rational cell in her body screams that this is insane. But her mother is dying. I need to see her, Elena says. Before I agree to anything, I need to see my mother. Dante checks his watch, a slim piece of platinum and leather that probably costs more than her car did when it was new. We have time. I'll have my driver take you to the hospital. You have until 6 o'clock this evening to make your decision. And if I say no? He meets her eyes with that penetrating stare. Then I wish you the best of luck, Miss Moretti, genuinely. But I won't make this offer twice. Elena nods, rising from her chair on unsteady legs. Dante stands as well, pulling a business card from his inner jacket pocket and sliding it across the table. My private number. Call before 6 with your decision. She takes the card, the heavy cardstock smooth between her fingers. Just his name, Dante Caruso, and a phone number. No company, no title. A man who doesn't need to advertise what he is. The contract, she says. If I agree, I want to review it before anything is finalized. Of course. My attorney will email it within 2 hours. He tilts his head slightly. I'll need your email address. She recites it, watching him type it into his phone with swift, practiced movements. When he finishes, he looks at her again, and for a moment something passes between them that Elena can't quite name. Recognition, maybe. Or acknowledgement that they're both playing a game with rules neither of them fully trusts. My driver will take you wherever you need to go, Dante says. When you've made your decision, call. Day or night. Elena nods, not trusting her voice, and turns toward the door. She's reaching for the handle when his voice stops her. Miss Moretti. She looks back over her shoulder. Your mother is fortunate to have a daughter willing to go to such lengths for her. The unexpected kindness in his tone nearly undoes her. Elena blinks back sudden tears, nods once, and escapes into the hallway before he can see her crack. The drive to Chicago Mercy passes in a blur. Elena sits in the back of the town car, her mind spinning through scenarios and consequences. She's so lost in thought that she barely notices when they arrive until the driver opens her door. I'll wait here, Miss Moretti, he says. Take whatever time you need. She makes her way through the familiar hospital corridors, her heels clicking against the linoleum, nurses nodding at her in recognition. She's been here so often that some of them know her by name now. Her mother is awake when Elena enters room 317, her eyes tracking toward the door with weak but present awareness. The ventilator has been removed, a good sign, replaced with an oxygen cannula. Elena. Her voice is thread-thin, barely audible. You're wearing your graduation dress. Elena crosses to the bed, taking her mother's hand carefully. I had a meeting. Must have been important. Margot's eyes, the same green as Elena's, study her daughter's face. You look worried, more than usual. I'm always worried, Mom. I know. I'm sorry for that. Elena's throat tightens. Don't. Don't apologize for being sick. It's not your fault. Margot is quiet for a moment, her breathing labored despite the oxygen. The doctor came by this morning. He explained about the surgery timeline. Mom, 72 hours, and we don't have the money. It's not a question. Elena opens her mouth to lie, to reassure, but the words die on her tongue. Her mother has always been able to read her too easily. I might have found a way, Elena says carefully. Margot's eyes sharpen despite her weakness. What kind of way? A job opportunity. It pays well? Really well. Enough for the surgery and then some. What kind of job, Elena? Elena hesitates, trying to figure out how to explain without explaining. It's complicated, but it's legitimate. Nothing illegal, nothing dangerous. Just unconventional. Her mother studies her with that penetrating gaze that Elena has never been able to escape. You're scared. I'm always scared these days. This is different. I can see it in your face. Margot squeezes her hand with surprising strength. What is it, sweetheart? What are they asking you to do? Elena sits on the edge of the bed, careful not to jostle the IV lines. There's a man, a businessman. He needs someone to pose as his fiancée for 6 months, for family reasons. He's offering $250,000. The silence that follows feels eternal. Finally, Margot says, pose as his fiancée. Just for appearances, attending events, living in his house. Nothing inappropriate, just acting. For 6 months. Yes. And he's offering $250,000 for this. Yes. Margot closes her eyes, her chest rising and falling with effort. When she opens them again, They're filled with tears. Oh, Elena, no. Mom, no. I won't let you sell yourself for me. I'm not selling myself. It's a job. A strange job, yes. But just a job. You don't know this man. You don't know what he might want, what he might expect. I know you're dying, Elena interrupts, her own voice breaking. I know that without this surgery, you have weeks, maybe days. I know that I've exhausted every other option. I know that this is the only chance. Tears spill down Margot's cheeks. I'm 52 years old, baby. I've lived a good life. You're 26. You have your whole future ahead of you. I can't let you compromise that future for me. Elena leans forward, pressing her forehead against her mother's hand. You're my mother. You're all I have. Without you, there is no future. Don't you understand? There's no version of my life that makes sense without you in it. They cry together then, mother and daughter, holding on to each other in that sterile hospital room, while machines beep their indifferent rhythms and fluorescent lights hum overhead. Finally, Margot pulls back enough to look at Elena's face. Tell me about him. This man. Elena sits up, wiping her eyes. His name is Dante Caruso. He's intense, wealthy, obviously, powerful. There's something dangerous about him. But he was honest with me. Brutally honest. He needs this arrangement for his own reasons, and he's willing to pay for it. Do you trust him? I don't know him well enough to trust him, but I believe he'll keep his word, and I believe he has the money. Margot is quiet for a long moment, her eyes searching Elena's face. If you do this, she says slowly, promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll be careful. Promise me that if anything feels wrong, if he asks for anything beyond what's agreed, you'll walk away. No matter what. No amount of money is worth your safety or your soul. Elena nods, fresh tears threatening. I promise. And promise me, Margot continues, her grip tightening, that when it's over, you'll use that money to build a life. Not just pay bills, actually live. Go back to school, travel, find something that makes you happy. Promise me. Mom, promise me, Elena Marie. I promise. Margot releases a shaky breath and seems to deflate against the pillows, exhausted by the emotional exchange. Then you have my blessing. If this is what you need to do, I won't fight you on it. But I want to meet him. Elena blinks. What? This man who's asking you to upend your life. I want to meet him. Look him in the eye. Mother's intuition. A surprised laugh escapes Elena. I don't think that's how this works. Then make it work. If he's serious about this arrangement, he can spare 30 minutes to meet the woman whose daughter he's hiring. Elena leaves the hospital with her mother's words echoing in her mind, and a strange sense of purpose replacing some of her fear. She calls Dante's number from the back of the town car, her heart pounding as it rings once, twice. Miss Moretti. His voice is smooth, unsurprised. Have you made your decision? I have conditions. A pause. I'm listening. My mother wants to meet you. Before I sign anything, she needs to see who I'm agreeing to work for. The silence stretches long enough that Elena wonders if he's hung up. Then, when? Today. Now, if possible. She's at Chicago Mercy, room 317. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He ends the call without waiting for her response. Elena stares at her phone, surprised and unsettled by his immediate agreement. She expected resistance, negotiation. Instead, he's simply coming. She tells the driver to wait and returns to her mother's room, where a nurse is checking vitals. Margot looks more alert now, color returning to her cheeks. He's coming, Elena says once they're alone again. He'll be here in 20 minutes. Margot nods, attempting to straighten her hospital gown with shaking hands. Help me sit up properly. And is there a mirror? I must look terrible. You look beautiful, Mom. You're a terrible liar. Always have been. They spend the next 15 minutes in minor preparations. Elena helps her mother sit more upright, smooths her hair, adjusts the blankets. It's ridiculous, this attempt at dignity in a hospital room. But Elena understands. Her mother needs to feel like herself for this meeting, not like a dying woman desperate for charity. Exactly 20 minutes after the phone call, there's a knock at the door. Elena's stomach tightens as she crosses the room and opens it. Dante Caruso stands in the hallway, still in his impeccable suit, looking entirely out of place among the tired nurses and beeping machines. He holds a small bouquet of white roses. "Miss Moretti," he says. Then his eyes move past her to the bed. "Mrs. Moretti, thank you for agreeing to see me." He enters with confident but respectful steps, approaching the bed with the flowers extended. "For you." Margot takes them, her eyes studying him with the intensity Elena expected. "Mr. Caruso, my daughter tells me you're offering her a substantial amount of money for a rather unusual job." "That's correct." Dante doesn't flinch under her scrutiny. He pulls a chair close to the bed and sits, meeting Margot's gaze directly. "I need someone to pose as my fiancé for approximately 6 months. Your daughter has the qualities I'm looking for." "Which are?" "Intelligence, composure under pressure, and, as I told her, the motivation to take the role seriously." "You mean desperation." "I mean necessity." Dante's tone is measured, neither defensive nor aggressive. "I won't insult you by pretending this is anything other than what it is. A business transaction. I need something. Your daughter needs something. I'm proposing an exchange." Margot's eyes narrow. "What exactly will you expect from her?" "Public appearances at my side, attendance at family functions, residence in my home. The appearance of a genuine relationship." He pauses. "Nothing physical beyond what would be expected of an engaged couple in public. Holding hands, perhaps an arm around her shoulders. Nothing private. You'll forgive me if I find that hard to believe. Men like you don't do things without hidden agendas." A faint smile touches Dante's lips. "Men like me?" "Powerful men. Men who are used to getting what they want, however they want it." "You're not wrong about what I am," Dante concedes. "But in this case, my agenda is exactly as stated. I need to satisfy my family's expectations without actually compromising my freedom. Your daughter provides the perfect solution." "Why her specifically? Why not hire an actress, someone used to playing roles?" "Because actresses seek attention. They want to be seen, recognized, remembered. I need someone who will blend into my world convincingly and then disappear without trace when our arrangement ends. Someone with no connections to my circles, no reason to talk afterward." Margot is silent, processing this. Elena stands by the door, watching the exchange with held breath. "What happens if Elena wants to end the arrangement early?" Margot asks. "If she feels unsafe or uncomfortable?" Dante doesn't hesitate. "Then it ends. She walks away with whatever portion of the payment corresponds to time served, prorated from the total. No penalties, no consequences. I want that in writing. It will be. My attorney is preparing the contract now. Both Elena and you, if you wish, can review it before anything is signed." Margot studies him for another long moment. "You're very smooth, Mr. Caruso. Very practiced at saying the right things. That worries me." "It should." Dante leans forward slightly. "Mrs. Moretti, I could lie to you. I could tell you I'm a simple businessman, that your daughter will be perfectly safe, that there's no risk whatsoever. But the truth is, I live in a complicated world. There are aspects of my life that involve risk, professional rivalries, family politics, business complications. Your daughter will be exposed to that world by association. Elena's breath catches. This brutal honesty is either refreshing or terrifying. She can't decide which. However, Dante continues, she will also have my protection, full security. A driver, bodyguards if necessary. No one in my world would dare touch someone under my care. And when our arrangement ends, she'll return to her life with enough money to never worry about situations like this again. Margot's expression softens fractionally. You love someone else. That's why you're doing this charade instead of actually marrying. It's not a question, and the change of subject catches both Dante and Elena off guard. Dante's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. No, he says quietly. I don't love anyone. That's precisely why this arrangement works. There's no one in my life who would be hurt by this deception. No one whose feelings I need to consider. Just business. Something in his tone makes Elena's chest ache. The loneliness of that statement, delivered so matter-of-factly, strikes her as unbearably sad. Margot must sense it too, because her expression shifts. That's a lonely way to live, Mr. Caruso. Perhaps. But it's honest. They regard each other in silence, some unspoken communication passing between them. Finally, Margot says, if Elena agrees to this, I want regular contact with her. Phone calls at minimum, visits if possible. Of course, that's not a restriction. And I want your word, your actual word, not just a signature on a contract, that if anything threatens her safety, you'll end the arrangement immediately and ensure she's protected. Dante stands, moving closer to the bed. He extends his hand to Margot, and after a moment, she takes it. You have my word, Mrs. Moretti. I will protect your daughter as if she were my own family. And when our arrangement ends, she will walk away whole and free. Margot holds his hand for a long moment, searching his face with those sharp green eyes. Then she nods. All right. If Elena decides to do this, she has my blessing. Dante releases her hand and steps back. Thank you. He glances at Elena. The contract will be emailed within the hour. Review it carefully. If you agree to the terms, we'll meet tomorrow morning to sign and begin the arrangement. The first payment will be transferred to the hospital immediately upon signature. Elena nods, her throat too tight for words. Dante moves toward the door, pausing when he reaches it. Mrs. Moretti, I hope your surgery goes well. I've taken the liberty of having my personal physician consult with your surgical team. Dr. Reeves is one of the best cardiac specialists in the country. He'll ensure you receive optimal care. Before either woman can respond, he's gone, the door closing softly behind him. Margot and Elena stare at each other in stunned silence. He sent his personal physician? Margot whispers. Apparently. Elena, that's, I know. Margot sinks back against the pillows, looking drained. He's either genuinely decent beneath that dangerous exterior, or he's very good at manipulation. I think maybe both. Her mother's laugh is weak but genuine. Then you'll need to be very careful, sweetheart. Men like that, complicated men with hidden depths, they're the most dangerous kind. Because they might hurt me? No. Margot's eyes are sad. Because you might fall for them. The contract arrives at exactly 6:30 p.m., delivered to Elena's email as promised. She reads it on her phone in the hospital cafeteria, nursing a cup of terrible coffee that's gone cold while she scrolls through page after page of legal language. It's surprisingly straightforward. 6-month term, renewable by mutual agreement only. Compensation is discussed. $50,000 immediately to Chicago Mercy, $125,000 at 3 months, $125,000 at completion. Termination clause allowing either party to end the arrangement with 2 weeks' notice, payment prorated based on time served. Expected duties: residence at Mr. Caruso's primary home in Lincoln Park, attendance at family and business functions as requested, with minimum 3 days' notice except in emergencies, maintaining the appearance of a genuine romantic relationship in public. Explicitly prohibited: disclosure of the arrangement's true nature to anyone outside the immediate family, engagement in any illegal activities, romantic involvement with third parties during the contract term. There's a whole section on privacy and non-disclosure extending 5 years past the contract end. Another on security protocols. She'll be assigned a driver, given a security detail for certain events, required to inform Dante's head of security of her whereabouts during high-risk periods. The more Elena reads, the more real it becomes. This isn't just play acting at a few dinners. This is essentially becoming someone else for 6 months, living a completely different life. Her phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Questions about the contract? Vincent Santos. Elena hesitates, then types. The clause about high-risk periods. What does that mean? The response comes within seconds. Occasional situations where Mr. Caruso's business activities may attract unwanted attention. Standard security precaution. You'll be briefed and protected accordingly. Elena's stomach tightens. How often? Historically, once or twice per quarter. Nothing you need to worry about. Easy for him to say. Elena sets down her phone and presses her palms against her eyes. This is insane. She's about to sign a contract to pretend to be engaged to a man she met this morning. A man who admits he lives in a complicated world that requires security protocols and bodyguards. But her mother is 3 floors above her, dying without this surgery. Elena picks up her phone again. I need a lawyer to review this before I sign. Already arranged. Jennifer Morris will call you within the hour. She's independent counsel, paid by Mr. Caruso but working for you. Anything she advises, Mr. Caruso will accommodate within reason. Of course, he's already arranged a lawyer. Dante Caruso is apparently the kind of man who anticipates every need, every question, every possible concern. It's both impressive and unsettling. True to Vincent's word, Jennifer Morris calls at 7:15. She's brisk and professional. Clearly expensive, and she spends 45 minutes on the phone with Elena going through the contract line by line. It's legitimate, she finally concludes. Very favorable to you, actually. The termination clause alone is unusually generous. Most contracts like this lock both parties. Regardless of circumstances, this gives you an exit whenever you need it. You've seen contracts like this before? A pause. I've seen various arrangements between parties with significant power imbalances. This is one of the better ones I've encountered. Mr. Caruso's attorney clearly crafted it to protect both parties. But nothing, legally speaking. Personally, as a woman, I'd tell you to trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, use that termination clause. Don't let money trap you in an unsafe situation. After the call ends, Elena sits in the empty cafeteria, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, and tries to access those instincts. What do they tell her about Dante Caruso? Dangerous. Definitely dangerous. But dangerous doesn't necessarily mean malicious. Lonely. Despite his wealth and power, there was something fundamentally isolated about him. Honest. Brutally, almost cruelly honest about what this arrangement is and isn't. Her phone buzzes again, this time with a call from Dante himself. Miss Moretti, have you reviewed the contract? Yes, my lawyer says it's solid. And your decision? Elena takes a deep breath. I need one more thing. Which is? I want to see where I'll be living. Before I sign, I want to see the house. Understand what my day-to-day life will actually look like. Silence. Then, that's reasonable. Are you at the hospital? Yes. My driver will collect you in 30 minutes. We'll do a tour. I'll answer whatever questions you have. And if you're satisfied, we can sign tonight. The payment will transfer immediately. Elena's heart pounds. This is moving so fast, too fast, but her mother doesn't have time for slow. All right, 30 minutes. She returns to her mother's room to say goodbye. Margot is sleeping, her breathing easier now. The medication's working, buying time they desperately need. Elena kisses her forehead and whispers, I'm going to save you, Mom. I promise. The town car is waiting when Elena exits the hospital. The same driver as before, patient and professional. This time the drive takes them north, into Lincoln Park, one of Chicago's most affluent neighborhoods. The streets are tree-lined and pristine, the houses grand, set back from the sidewalk behind wrought iron gates and manicured lawns. They turn onto a private drive that winds through landscaped grounds before emerging in front of a stunning Victorian mansion. 3 stories of red brick and white trim, bay windows glowing with warm light, a turret on one corner that looks like something from a fairy tale. Welcome to Caruso House, Miss Moretti, the driver says, opening her door. Elena steps out, craning her neck to take in the full scope of the building. This isn't just a house, it's an estate, in the middle of Chicago. Dante emerges from the front door as she approaches, having changed from his suit into dark slacks and a charcoal sweater that somehow makes him look both more casual and more dangerous. What do you think? He asks, as she climbs the stone steps. I think I'm seriously underdressed for this conversation. His mouth quirks. You're fine. Come inside. The interior is as impressive as the exterior. Soaring ceilings, original woodwork, modern furniture that somehow complements the historic bones of the house. Dante leads her through a formal living room, a library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a dining room that seats 12, and finally to a more casual den with comfortable sofas and a fireplace where flames crackle warmly. Sit, he invites, gesturing to the sofa. Would you like something to drink? Wine? Water? Water is fine. He pours from a crystal pitcher into heavy glasses, hands her one, and settles into the chair across from her. For a moment, they simply look at each other, the weight of what they're about to do hanging between them. Your room will be on the 3rd floor, Dante says. Private suite with bedroom, bathroom, and sitting area. You'll have complete privacy. My room is on the 2nd floor. And the rest of the house? I have a housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, who lives in the carriage house out back. She manages the property and staff. There's also Marcus, my driver. You've met him. And typically 2 security personnel on the grounds at any given time, rotating shifts. Elena absorbs this. Do they know about the arrangement? Mrs. Chen knows it's not a traditional engagement. The others don't need to know details. To them, you're simply my fiancé. And your family? Dante's expression hardens almost imperceptibly. My family will believe what everyone else believes, that we met, fell in love, and decided to marry. Will they accept me? A waitress with no connections, no money? My family will accept what I tell them to accept. His tone brooks no argument. Besides, you're not just a waitress. You have a degree in communications from UIC. You're intelligent, well-spoken, and beautiful. That's all they need to know. The casual compliment catches Elena off guard, heat rising to her cheeks. Dante notices, his eyes tracking the flush with interest. The first event will be this weekend, he continues. A gallery opening. Low stakes, relatively small crowd. a chance to practice before the larger family functions. This weekend. That's 3 days away, which gives us 3 days to prepare. You'll need appropriate clothing. A stylist will come tomorrow. You'll need to know basic information about my family, my business, our supposed history together. We'll spend time creating a believable narrative. Elena's head spins. This is really happening. Only if you sign. Dante pulls a folder from beside his chair and sets it on the coffee table between them. The contract, 2 copies. 1 for you, 1 for me. If you're ready. Elena stares at the folder, her heart racing. This is it. The moment of commitment. After this, there's no going back. My mother's surgery, she says. When will it happen? The money transfers the moment we sign. Dr. Reeves is coordinating with the surgical team. They can operate as early as tomorrow afternoon if your mother is stable enough. Tomorrow afternoon. Less than 24 hours from now, her mother could have the transplant that will save her life. Elena reaches for the pen Dante offers, her hand remarkably steady despite the chaos in her mind. She flips through the contract one more time, seeing Jennifer Morris's notes in the margins, the highlighted sections, the asterisks marking important clauses. Then she signs. Elena Marie Moretti, her signature dark against the white paper. Dante signs his own name below hers with fluid strokes, then pulls out his phone and takes a photo of the signed page. Sending to the hospital now, he says. The transfer will process within minutes. They sit in silence while Dante's fingers move across his phone screen, making the arrangements that will save Margot's life. Elena watches him. This stranger, who is now legally bound to her for 6 months, and tries to reconcile the ruthless businessman with the man who sent his personal physician to consult on her mother's care. Done, Dante says, looking up. Dr. Reeves will call you within the hour to discuss surgery timing. Your mother's care is now his top priority. Thank you. The words feel inadequate. I don't know how to. You don't need to thank me, Miss Moretti. We have a business arrangement. I'm upholding my end. But it feels like more than that. It feels like he's saving her life as much as her mother's, pulling her back from an edge she'd been walking for weeks. Dante stands. It's late. Marcus will take you home. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. The stylist will arrive here. Pack a bag tonight. You'll move in tomorrow after the fitting. Elena barely sleeps that night. Dr. Reeves calls at 9:30, his voice warm and reassuring as he explains that Margot's surgery is scheduled for 2 p.m. the following day. The cardiac team is optimistic. Her mother is stable. Everything is proceeding according to plan. After the call, Elena sits in her small apartment surrounded by boxes she should be packing. But instead, she just stares at the walls, trying to process the complete upheaval of her life in the span of 12 hours. This morning, she was a waitress with impossible debt and a dying mother. Now she's engaged to one of Chicago's most powerful men. Her mother is getting life-saving surgery, and in less than 9 hours, she'll be moving into a mansion in Lincoln Park. It doesn't feel real. She forces herself to pack around midnight, folding her limited wardrobe into the same suitcase she used when she left her ex-boyfriend's apartment a year ago. Everything she owns fits into 2 bags and 3 boxes. It's depressing how small her life has been, how little she's accumulated in 26 years. But that's going to change. After this 6 months, she'll have enough money to actually build something. Go back to school, maybe. Get her master's degree. Find a career instead of just jobs. The possibility feels like oxygen after drowning. Elena arrives at Caruso House at 8:45 the next morning, deliberately early. Mrs. Chen answers the door, a petite woman in her 60s with kind eyes and an appraising gaze. Miss Moretti, welcome. Mr. Caruso is in his office but asked me to show you to your room. Her accent is faint, her English precise. Please, follow me. The third floor is quieter than the lower levels, the hallway lined with family photographs. Elena doesn't have time to examine, as Mrs. Chen leads her to a set of double doors at the far end. Your suite, Mrs. Chen announces, opening the doors to reveal a space more beautiful than any apartment Elena has ever lived in. The bedroom is spacious and bright, decorated in soft grays and creams, with a 4-poster bed that looks like something from a luxury hotel. French doors open onto a small balcony overlooking the garden. The attached bathroom features a clawfoot tub and separate shower, all marble and brass fixtures. The sitting area has a small desk, bookshelves, and comfortable reading chairs positioned near a window. Mr. Caruso had it redecorated last week, Mrs. Chen says, watching Elena's reaction. He wanted you to be comfortable. Last week, before they'd even met, he'd been that confident she would agree. It's beautiful, Elena manages. Thank you. Mrs. Chen nods. I'll bring up tea while you settle in. The stylist should arrive shortly. Left alone, Elena explores her new space with careful steps, almost afraid to touch anything. The closet is enormous and mostly empty, waiting for the wardrobe the stylist will provide. The dresser drawers are lined with scented paper. Fresh flowers sit on the desk in a crystal vase. She's unpacking her meager belongings when Dante appears in the doorway, knocking softly on the open frame. How was your night? He asks, his eyes tracking over her with that intense assessment that makes her feel simultaneously seen and exposed. Sleepless. Yours? The same. He steps into the room, hands in his pockets. Dr. Reeves confirmed the surgery timing? Yes, 2 p.m. I've cleared my schedule. I'll drive you to the hospital. Elena blinks. You don't have to do that. You shouldn't be alone while your mother is in surgery. And besides, his mouth quirks. An attentive fiancé would be there to support you. We might as well start practicing the role. Before Elena can respond, Mrs. Chen reappears with not just tea, but coffee as well, setting the tray on the sitting room table. Mr. Caruso. The stylist has arrived, she says. Send her up. The stylist turns out to be a whirlwind of energy named Sienna. Tall, impossibly chic, with a measuring tape around her neck and an assistant laden with garment bags trailing behind her. Oh, you're stunning, Sienna announces the moment she sees Elena, circling her like a predator assessing prey. Bone structure to die for, perfect proportions. This is going to be fun. For the next 3 hours, Elena is measured, photographed, and dressed in outfit after outfit, while Sienna makes rapid-fire decisions about colors, cuts, and styles. Dante remains for the first part, sitting in one of the reading chairs with his coffee, occasionally vetoing or approving Sienna's choices. The red, he says, when Sienna holds up a cocktail dress. That's the one for the gallery opening. I was thinking the blue, Sienna counters. The red. His tone leaves no room for argument. Sienna rolls her eyes, but adds the red dress to the yes pile. He's very particular, she stage whispers to Elena. Every client thinks they know fashion better than me. I pay you enough to tolerate my opinions, Dante says mildly, his eyes on his phone now. By noon, Elena has been outfitted with what Sienna declares is a starter wardrobe. Cocktail dresses, business casual separates, elegant evening gowns, even casual weekend wear that costs more than Elena's monthly rent used to be. The rest will be delivered throughout the week, Sienna promises, kissing both of Elena's cheeks. You're going to be the most beautiful woman in Chicago, darling. Well, after me. After Sienna leaves, Elena changes into one of the new outfits, slim black pants and a cream silk blouse, and meets Dante downstairs. He's changed into a dark suit, looking every inch the powerful businessman. Ready? He asks. Elena nods, her stomach in knots. Not about the surgery itself. She trusts Dr. Reeves, but about what comes after. When her mother wakes up, how does Elena explain this new life, this fake engagement? The drive to the hospital is quiet. Marcus navigates the afternoon traffic with practiced ease, while Elena watches the city pass by, too nervous to make conversation. Dante doesn't push, seemingly content with the silence, though she feels his gaze on her periodically. At the hospital, Dante's presence creates an immediate stir. Nurses and staff recognize him, or perhaps just recognize wealth and power, and suddenly, Elena is being ushered through corridors she usually has to navigate alone, offered coffee and comfortable waiting areas instead of hard plastic chairs. Dr. Reeves meets them outside the surgical wing, shaking Dante's hand before turning to Elena with a warm smile. Your mother is prepped and ready. She's in excellent spirits. Would you like to see her before we begin? Elena nods wordlessly, and Dr. Reeves leads her to the pre-op area, where Margot lies on a gurney, looking small but surprisingly peaceful. There's my girl, Margot says, reaching for Elena's hand. Her eyes track past Elena to where Dante stands at a respectful distance near the door. And Mr. Caruso, you came. Of course, Dante says, moving closer. How are you feeling? Mrs. Moretti. Like I'm about to get a new heart. Margot's smile is weak but genuine. Thank you for all of this. I know what it cost. It cost nothing compared to what it's worth, Dante replies, and the sincerity in his voice makes Elena's chest tighten. A nurse enters to announce they're ready for surgery. Elena hugs her mother carefully, blinking back tears. I'll be right here when you wake up, she promises. I know you will, baby. I love you. I love you too, Mom. They wheel Margot away, and suddenly Elena is standing in an empty hallway with Dante, the reality of the next 6 hours stretching before her like an eternity. Come on, Dante says gently, his hand settling on the small of her back. There's a better waiting room upstairs. He guides her to a private lounge, more of Dante's influence at work, with comfortable seating, coffee, and windows overlooking the city. Elena sits, her hands clasped in her lap, trying to breathe through the anxiety. Dante settles into the chair beside her, pulling out his phone. I have some work to do, but I'm here if you need anything. You really don't have to stay, Elena says. I know you're busy. His eyes lift from his phone to her face. I told you I'd be here. I keep my promises, Miss Moretti. Elena, she says impulsively, if we're supposed to be engaged, you should call me Elena. Something shifts in his expression. Elena, he repeats, and her name in his voice with that faint accent sends an unexpected shiver down her spine. Then you should call me Dante. Dante, she tries, and it feels strange and intimate on her tongue. They settle into an oddly comfortable silence. Dante works on his phone and laptop, taking occasional calls in rapid Italian that Elena tries not to eavesdrop on. She attempts to read a magazine but can't focus, her mind spinning through worst-case scenarios. Hours pass. A nurse updates them periodically. Surgery is progressing well. No complications. Everything according to plan. Elena's anxiety doesn't ease. Around hour 5, Dante sets aside his laptop and stands. You need to eat something. I'm not hungry. When did you last have a meal? Elena tries to remember. Yesterday, I think. At the hospital cafeteria. Dante's jaw tightens. He pulls out his phone, makes a call. And within 20 minutes, food arrives. Not hospital cafeteria food, but actual restaurant-quality pasta, salad, bread. Eat, he commands, setting a plate in front of her. You're very bossy. I'm very accustomed to people doing what I tell them. But there's a hint of amusement in his eyes. Elena discovers she is hungry after all, and the food is excellent. They eat in silence, and she's surprised to find it's not awkward. There's something settling about Dante's presence, something solid and reliable despite the dangerous edge he carries. "Can I ask you something?" Elena ventures between bites. "You can ask. I may not answer." "Why did you really choose me? The truth this time, not the business explanation." Dante sets down his fork, considering her. "You reminded me of someone." "Who?" "My sister." He pauses. "She had the same look in her eyes that you did that morning outside the hotel, like the world was crushing her, and she was determined not to let it show." "Had?" "She died 3 years ago." "I'm sorry." Dante nods, his expression closing off. "She would have liked you, I think. She always rooted for the underdogs." Before Elena can respond, Dr. Reeves appears in the doorway, still in his surgical scrubs, and both Elena and Dante surge to their feet. "The surgery was a complete success," Dr. Reeves announces, his smile broad. "Your mother came through beautifully. The new heart is functioning perfectly. She's in recovery now, and if everything continues this smoothly, she should make a full recovery." Elena's legs nearly give out. Dante's hand shoots out to steady her, his grip firm on her elbow. "She's okay?" Elena whispers. "She's really okay?" "She's going to be fine, Miss Moretti. You can see her in about an hour once she's fully conscious." Relief crashes over Elena in waves so powerful she can't contain them. Tears stream down her face as she turns into Dante's chest, seeking anchor. His arms come around her automatically, holding her steady, while she sobs into his expensive suit. "Thank you," she gasps between sobs. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Dante's hand moves in slow circles on her back, his voice low near her ear. "You're welcome, Elena. You're welcome." The following days pass in a blur of hospital visits and preparation for their public debut. Margot recovers faster than expected, the new heart transforming her almost immediately from frail and failing to tired, but hopeful. Elena spends every possible moment at her bedside, marveling at the color returning to her mother's cheeks, the strength coming back to her voice. "You look different," Margot observes on the 3rd day post-surgery, studying Elena with those sharp maternal eyes that miss nothing. "Different how?" "Less exhausted. Less haunted." Margot reaches for Elena's hand. "Living in that mansion agrees with you." Elena laughs, the sound feeling foreign after weeks of anxiety. "It's certainly nicer than my studio apartment." "And Mr. Caruso, how is that arrangement working?" Elena hesitates, unsure how to explain the strange dynamic developing between her and Dante. He's been nothing but professional, keeping his distance, treating her with careful courtesy. Yet there are moments, brief flashes when their eyes meet, or when he steadies her with a hand on her back, where something else flickers between them. Something neither of them acknowledges. "It's fine," Elena says finally. "He's not what I expected. Better or worse? Just different." Margot studies her for a long moment. "Be careful, sweetheart. I see how you look when you talk about him." "Mom, it's not like that. It's business." "Business doesn't make you blush." Elena's hand flies to her cheek, feeling the telltale heat there. "I'm not. It's just, we have the gallery opening tomorrow night. I'm nervous about the performance, that's all." Margot doesn't look convinced, but she lets it drop. That evening, back at Caruso House, Elena finds Dante waiting for her in the library. He's changed from his usual suit into dark jeans and a black Henley that emphasizes his broad shoulders, making him look simultaneously more casual and more dangerous. "We need to practice," he announces without preamble. "Practice?" "Our story. How we met, how long we've been together, the proposal. People will ask questions tomorrow. We need to have consistent answers." He's right, of course. Elena settles into the chair across from his, pulling her legs under her. "So how did we meet?" she asks. Dante considers. The restaurant. You were my server. I was immediately struck by you. Was that true? At the real restaurant? His eyes meet hers. Would it matter? Elena's heart skips. For the story, yes. Then yes. I noticed you immediately. You were different from the other servers, more present, more genuine. I asked the manager about you. This is fiction, Elena reminds herself, just creating a believable narrative. But Dante's gaze is so intense that she has to look away. How long have we been together? She asks. 4 months. Long enough to be serious. Not so long that people will question why they haven't met you before. And the proposal? 2 weeks ago. Intimate dinner at home, nothing elaborate. You said yes immediately. Elena absorbs this, trying to commit it to memory. What do I call you in public? Dante, something more affectionate. Something flickers in his eyes. What feels natural to you? I don't know. I've never had a fake fiancé before. Try something. See how it sounds. Elena takes a breath. Dante. Then. Testing. Babe. It sounds ridiculous. Honey. Worse. Sweetheart? Too formal. She tries his name in Italian, the way his family probably says it. Dante. The syllables roll differently, softer. His expression shifts, something dark and interested crossing his face. That. Use that. They practice for another hour, creating layers to their fictional relationship. Dante is surprisingly good at this, weaving details that sound authentic. Her favorite flowers, peonies, which he somehow guessed correctly. His favorite thing about her directness, where they plan to honeymoon, Tuscany, where his family is from. By the time they finish, Elena's head spins with information, but she feels marginally more prepared. One more thing, Dante says, standing. Come here. Elena rises, uncertain, and crosses to where he waits. He's so much taller than her that she has to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. We'll need to be comfortable with casual physical contact, he says. May I? At her nod, he reaches out and tucks a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers brushing her cheek. The touch is gentle, but sends electricity down her spine. Like that, he murmurs. Small gestures that suggest intimacy without being inappropriate. His hand settles on her waist, drawing her fractionally closer. And this. At events, I'll keep you close. It's both protective and possessive, what people expect from an engaged couple. Elena's breath catches. They're standing so close she can smell his cologne, feel the heat radiating from his body. This is just practice, she tells herself. Just preparation for tomorrow. But when Dante's thumb traces a small circle against her waist and his eyes drop to her mouth for just a fraction of a second, it doesn't feel like practice. He steps back abruptly, the moment breaking. Good. You should get some rest. Tomorrow will be a long day. Elena flees to her room, her heart pounding. She's in trouble. Deep trouble. Because despite knowing this is all fake, despite the contract and the business arrangement and the clear boundaries, her body doesn't seem to have received the message. She's attracted to Dante Caruso. Dangerously attracted. And tomorrow night, she'll have to pretend to be in love with him in front of Chicago's elite, which terrifies her far more than any business transaction. The next evening, Elena stands before the full-length mirror in her suite, barely recognizing herself. The red dress Dante insisted on fits like it was made for her body, and perhaps it was. The neckline is modest, but the back plunges dramatically, the fabric clinging to every curve before flaring slightly at the knee. Sienna's team arrived hours ago to do hair and makeup, transforming Elena's usual simple style into something elegant and sophisticated. Her dark hair is swept up in a loose chignon, small diamond earrings, on loan from some designer whose name Elena can't pronounce, catching the light when she moves. She looks like she belongs in Dante's world. The realization is both thrilling and terrifying. A knock at her door makes her turn. "Come in." Dante enters, stopping in his tracks when he sees her. For a long moment, he simply stares, his expression unreadable. "Well?" Elena asks, suddenly uncertain. "Is it okay?" "You're breathtaking," he says quietly, and the sincerity in his voice makes her blush. He's devastating in a tailored tuxedo, the black fabric emphasizing his dark hair and eyes, the crisp white shirt a stark contrast against his olive skin. They match perfectly, Elena realizes. Red and black, fire and shadow. Dante crosses the room, pulling a velvet box from his pocket. One more thing. Inside the box sits a ring that makes Elena's breath catch. It's stunning. A large ruby surrounded by diamonds, set in platinum. Even to her inexperienced eye, she can tell it's worth a fortune. "Is this real?" she whispers. "Of course it's real." Dante removes the ring from the box, reaching for her left hand. "May I?" Elena extends her hand, watching as he slides the ring onto her finger. It fits perfectly. The weight of it foreign but not unpleasant. "It was my grandmother's," Dante says softly, still holding her hand. "She would have wanted you to wear it." Elena's eyes snap to his. "Your grandmother's?" "Dante, I can't. This should go to someone you actually. It's mine to give as I choose. And for the next 6 months, you're my fiancé. It would look strange if you didn't have a ring." His thumb brushes over her knuckles. "Besides, red suits you. She would have approved." The intimacy of the moment, him sliding his grandmother's ring onto her finger, the gentle touch, the warmth in his eyes, makes Elena's heart race. This isn't real, she reminds herself desperately. It's just part of the performance, but it feels real. "Thank you," she manages. "I'll take excellent care of it." "I know you will." Dante releases her hand. Stepping back to a professional distance. "Are you ready?" "As ready as I'll ever be." The gallery is in River North, a modern space with white walls and dramatic lighting showcasing contemporary art that Elena doesn't understand, but pretends to appreciate. They arrive fashionably late, Marcus dropping them at the entrance where photographers wait. "Smile," Dante murmurs as they exit the car, his hand possessive on her waist. "And remember, you're madly in love with me." The cameras flash as they walk the short red carpet, Dante fielding questions from entertainment reporters with practiced ease. "Mr. Caruso, who's your companion?" "My fiancée, Elena Moretti." More flashes, excited murmurs. "When's the wedding?" "We haven't set a date yet." "We're enjoying being engaged." "How did you meet?" "She served me the best carbonara in Chicago. I knew immediately I had to marry her." Elena laughs genuinely at that, and the cameras capture it, her tilted head, her smile, Dante looking down at her with an expression that looks remarkably like adoration. Inside the gallery, the real test begins. Dante introduces her to what feels like hundreds of people. Business associates, art collectors, socialites, whose names Elena struggles to remember. Everyone is polite, curious, clearly trying to assess the woman who captured Dante Caruso's heart. "She's not what I expected," Elena overhears one woman whisper to another. "What did you expect?" "Someone more obvious. He always dated models and actresses before. She seems almost normal." Elena isn't sure if that's a compliment or an insult, but Dante's hand tightens on her waist, suggesting he heard it too. "You're doing perfectly," he murmurs near her ear. "Just be yourself." Halfway through the evening, an older couple approaches, late 60s, elegant, with an air of authority that makes Elena's spine straighten automatically. "Dante," the man says, his voice cool, "you didn't mention you'd be bringing a guest." Dante's entire posture shifts, becoming more guarded. "Uncle Roberto, Aunt Francesca, I'd like you to meet my fiancée, Elena Moretti. Elena, my Uncle Roberto Caruso, and my Aunt Francesca." The temperature seems to drop 10 degrees. So this is Dante's family, the ones he's doing all this for. Elena extends her hand, offering her most genuine smile. "It's lovely to meet you both." Francesca takes her hand limply, her eyes scanning Elena from head to toe with barely concealed disapproval. "Moretti, Italian family. My father was from Florence." "Was? He passed when I was young. I'm sorry to hear that." Francesca's tone suggests she's anything but. "And your mother?" "American. From Boston, originally." Roberto's eyes narrow. "And what do you do, Miss Moretti?" Here it is, the moment Elena has been dreading. Dante's hand moves to the small of her back, a silent show of support. "I work in hospitality," Elena says, using the euphemism Dante suggested. "That's how Dante and I met." Hospitality. Roberto makes it sound like a disease. How quaint. "Elena," Dante says, his voice carrying an edge of warning directed at his uncle, "is the most genuine person I've ever met, which is precisely why I asked her to marry me." The statement hangs in the air, a challenge and a declaration. Francesca's mouth thins into a disapproving line. "Well," she says finally, "this is certainly unexpected. Your father would have—" "My father is dead," Dante interrupts coldly, "and has no say in my choices." The tension is thick enough to cut. Elena stands frozen, unsure whether to intervene or stay silent. Finally, Roberto says, "We'll discuss this later, at Sunday dinner. You'll both attend, I presume." It's not really a question. "Of course," Dante replies. "We'd be delighted." The older couple moves away, leaving Elena and Dante standing alone in the middle of the crowded gallery. "I'm sorry," Elena whispers. "I wasn't prepared for—" "You were perfect," Dante says, turning to face her. "They're always like that. Judgmental, cold, controlling. It's who they are. Your family gatherings must be fun." Despite the tension, Dante's mouth quirks. "You have no idea what you've signed up for?" "Apparently not." He studies her face for a moment, something shifting in his expression. Then, to her complete surprise, he leans down and presses his lips to her forehead, a gentle, almost tender gesture that stops her breath. "Thank you," he murmurs against her skin, "for handling that with grace." When he pulls back, Elena's heart is racing. That wasn't for show. There was no one close enough to see. That was just him. Just Dante, showing gratitude in the only way he apparently knows how. They stay another hour, making the rounds, playing their roles perfectly. By the time Marcus collects them, Elena is exhausted from the performance, but exhilarated too. They did it. They convinced an entire room full of Chicago's elite that they're a genuine couple. In the car, Dante loosens his bow tie with a sigh. "You did exceptionally well tonight." "So did you. Though I have to say, your family seems difficult, overbearing, obsessed with bloodlines and propriety." I was going to say intense. "That's diplomatic of you." He turns to look at her, the city lights playing across his face. "Sunday dinner will be worse. There will be more of them, and they'll have had time to dig into your background." "Lovely. I'll protect you," Dante says, and the certainty in his voice makes Elena believe him. "I won't let them hurt you." They lapse into comfortable silence for the remainder of the drive. When they arrive at Caruso House, Dante walks her to her door, a gentleman despite everything. "Good night, Elena," he says. Good night, Dante. She's turning the handle when his voice stops her. Elena? She looks back. The ring suits you. My grandmother would have been pleased. Before she can respond, he's gone, disappearing down the hallway to his own room, leaving Elena standing in her doorway with his grandmother's ruby burning on her finger and her heart beating far too fast for a business arrangement. She's in serious trouble, and they're only 4 days into 6 months. What do you think of their story? Share your thoughts in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, what's your rating? Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to follow all our stories. Check out more emotional stories by clicking on the end screen.